Hey guys, Emily Muccianti here, and I'm back with a video for our new reading intervention teachers. Today we're going to do something a little bit different, and that is take a look inside of a reading curriculum. And today we're going to look at SIPPS. Now, SIPPS is a program that is published by the Collaborative Classroom, which is a nonprofit organization. SIPPS stands for Systematic Instruction in Phonological Awareness, Phonics, and Sight Words. And today I'm going to be looking at the beginning level of this. And this is going to just be a very general, kind of a broad look, give you some of my initial thoughts about this. I will say up front, I have never used this inside of the classroom, but I was introduced to it at the Big Sky Literacy Summit, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to just kind of share it with you and also find out what you think of it. So if you have SIPPS and you've used it in your classroom or intervention programs, I would love to hear what you think. So drop those comments down below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share so that you are notified anytime I post a new video. And if there's something that you'd like to see and a curriculum or anything, drop me a line or email me at readingdiva06@gmail.com. Okay, so I'm going to be looking at a lot of notes because I don't want to miss anything. You can see I have the binder here. It's quite hefty. And so I'm not going to be picking that up because I will drop it and then all things will go crazy. So I wanted to start with a few things about this. So we talked about, I'm looking at the beginning level of SIPPS, which is really about phonological awareness, phonics, and sight words in particular. And this is one of the things I do want to check, and we'll talk about it at the end, is whether or not this aligns to the science of reading and what those components are. So we'll get to that. But first, let's talk about some of the components of this particular program. So this is the K1 version, and there are a great deal of levels of, particularly for SIPPS. This one will be K1, and there are 55 lessons that are included in this particular teaching manual here. So let's look at the phonological awareness piece first. So every single lesson has a component that is designed to help support the phonemic awareness growth of your students. That means there is no print, there is nothing for the student to look at. What this particular lesson protocol looks like is it's going to start with really words and syllables, so more of a phonological approach, very broad chunks of sound, and then it will progress as the lessons progress to the individual phonemes. Now, part of their routine for the phonemic awareness is that the teacher would draw lines on a board to represent individual phonemes, and when they're using words or they're chunking words, compound words, that sort of thing, they would more use boxes or something that would look like an Elkonin box. So that was a little different to me. I'd kind of like to see that in practice. I'm wondering if it's a little more confusing with the lines versus boxes, but we'll see. The phonics component of this will have some spelling sound relationship that are introduced on cards. They are also taught to blend these sounds right away and then reading some decodable text. As soon as there's enough words, so just a few words that are presented. So the students are taught spelling sound relationships on cards and blending. They are then blending words on actual with those particular sounds. Then those words are presented more in a decodable sentence or passage, and that will continue to grow. One thing interesting about their routine for this is that the sounds are always stretched for blending, and I think for some kids that can be really effective, and I'm not sure. Again, I would like to hear what someone who has experience with it would think about that. So I know when some kids really need an explicit type of stretch in order to blend those sounds together. I find that I really shorten that kind of routine myself in order to kind of get through it a little bit faster. So I'd like to see that one. The other main component of this program is really about teaching sight words. And so sight words are taught orally through spelling and reading. So the student would say the word, orally spell the word, and then reading the word. And I might be oversimplifying that routine. This is reviewed daily for students so that they are being exposed to high frequency words, and those are happening daily. I think this might benefit from a little more multisensory component to it, but it is definitely a piece of this particular program. Now, I did want to say the daily lesson components follows this. So there is always a rereading of a story. That story is a decodable story that was taught previously with all of the sounds and blends that were taught. Then there's the phonological awareness component, the phonics and decoding of words. So they're introducing a new phonics element. Students are taught to decode those words. Then there is a sight word routine that is added, followed by the reading of a story, which is decodable. And they, some of them come in on posters. And so it's kind of a group read. Then there is a guided spelling and segmentation routine, followed by fluency practice to build some automaticity. So I like the components of this lesson design. I think it's got some really good components, especially for our early K1 kiddos. So yeah, there's some good aspects to this. So one of the things, and I'm going to take you into the website in just a moment, but I wanted to talk about the strengths from what I saw of this program. I do like that this program is definitely, the progression is systematic, it is scripted, it is explicit, there is a consistent routine. When our students know what routine is expected, they start to kind of understand that, which means we're going to have less time training in the routine and more time to actually work with the skill itself. So I do like that. The program comes with placement tests and mastery checks, although I would suggest that an independent progress monitoring tool be used to make sure that those skills are being applied. It's not just about the mastery, although that is absolutely important, but really what we want to see is the student able to then apply those skills and develop some automaticity with that skill. And I think a tool like the Acadience reading nonsense word fluency would be a good place to actually consider a good progress monitoring tool for that. Something really cool that I have never seen before, and I'm going to see if I can find it on this one sample lesson, is that inside of the margin of each, I don't know if you can see this, there are QR codes. And there are QR codes in all of the lessons that when you take your camera and you go to the link, it's a video link. And what the video does is it shows you a teacher doing the routine to the camera so that you can actually see it in practice. I loved that. I thought that was brilliant. And what's nice about these videos is that they're really short, really quick. It shows you exactly what you need to know for that section so that as you're planning, you can watch that and kind of get the pacing and the feel for it and then move on. So that was a huge, huge win for me. Thought that one was amazing. Also, what I really love is that the skills and the phonics components that are taught are immediately transferred into working with decodable text. So as soon as the students are taught certain sounds, a few consonants and a vowel, there is the blending routine so that kids can then blend. And once there's the blending for a few lessons, then they take into some decodable sentences, and those stories then grow and build from there. So I know it's important we're teaching these skills in isolation, but we don't just teach a skill in isolation because we want the student to be able to, read blend one word, we need to make sure that that skill is transferred to connected text. So I really did like that. Now, a couple of the challenges or potentials for some challenges that I wanted to just share with you from my perspective is that the scripting, because in the first, I don't know, 10, maybe 15 lessons, the way the teacher's edition is written out, it is very, very detailed. Pros and cons to that. Okay. I think it's detailed because we need to learn the routine, which I like, but I'm going to hold this up so you can see it here. But I do like the amount of space that is involved, but because of the detail in the scripting, there is a lot of pages that the teacher has to go through for one particular lesson. Now, that will shorten as the lessons progress. So I think that as you learn the routine, they don't give you as much detail. So pros and cons, and also the routine in the way it's presented can seem a bit robotic. There's a lot of read, repeat as prompts. And so it does come off as a little bit robotic. However, I think that that can be adjusted very quickly with a little, just adding a little bit of your own personality to it and making sure that it's still fun. One of the challenges with scripted programs, and they're there for a reason. They're there because we need to know the direct instruction approach. So I appreciate that, especially if you're working with paras. But the other part of that is that it can come off as a little bit robotic. So you want to make sure that you're eventually kind of moving the pacing of that matches your students, and keeping that in mind. So those were really my only two challenges that I thought. Again, I have not used this program in the classroom at all. It's new to me, but I know that it is one that it's got a lot of merit to it. I think there are some amazing pieces of it. I am going to show you their website in just a moment, but let's see, I want to show you some of the additional resources. So as you look at this website here, we're at the collaborative classroom. There is some information for you, and this is just the piece that is related to SIPPS. There's a whole bunch of information here. So you can actually request a sample lesson. You just have to put in some basic information. And depending on your grade levels, as I mentioned earlier, the one I'm looking at is the beginning level. It's mostly for K1, either general education for K1. You can use the K1 for older students who are struggling. Although once your students get to about fourth grade, then they recommend going to a different program because it's a little more, I think, respectful of their age. This one, again, is for younger students, but you can see that they consider it a part of that MTSS model, and it can be used for your tier 1. We could add it into targeted intervention or intensive intervention. And these are all of the additional components to it. I am looking at the simple alphabetic piece, which is just the beginning, but it moves into spelling patterns, the polysyllabic and morphemic. The alphabetic and spelling pattern, and then this way. So you can see that it goes from the beginning to the extension to the challenge levels and what those pieces are. The beginning level is really about the simple alphabetic phase, and that's what we're looking at for these students. There is information about the research and evidence behind it. I'm not going to get into that for this video here. I'll let you look for other sources for that. But there are some places that you can go to. I also wanted to show you that when you bring up, if you were interested in considering this as a purchase, you can see there are a great deal of pieces that come along. So if I were looking at this one here, this one comes with, let's see if we can see it here. There it is. The teacher's manual, sound cards, sight word cards, wall cards, reproducible story posters, little books, decodable readers, a teacher's portfolio, and then you have access to their online components. There's a handbook. There's a number of pieces that come along with this. So the kit, as you see it here, is $1,175. You can also just opt to purchase the teacher's edition, maybe if you just wanted that piece of it. I think for an original purchase, I would do the whole thing. So again, this is a quick review of the program SIPPS, which is really related to that phonological, phonemic awareness, phonics, and sight words for our students in grades K1 or some of our older kids, second and third grade, maybe, that need to go back and get a little bit of support. I think the program has a lot of merit. I really like that there is a lot of alignment to the science of reading. And so just to kind of check some points here, we have to check, is it systematic and explicit in its phonics instruction? And yes, it absolutely is. Does it include phonemic awareness activities? Yes, it does. Does it include decodable text? It absolutely does. So even with our kinders, they are automatically applying to decodable text. Is there explicit teaching of sight words? There is. It is through a spelling, an oral spelling routine. I think that we might be able to enhance that routine a little bit, but of course I'm Orton Gillingham trained, so maybe I like a little more multi-sensory piece to it. Are there comprehension questions or strategies attached to it? And there are some brief little comprehension pieces, questions, but remember, these are not really rich, robust, decodable text. It's very difficult to get to that at a K1 level. So all of our comprehension support that we're giving with our students in kinder and first grade should really be coming from really rich, robust read alouds where we can enhance their comprehension of using some really great literature that they're not ready to read yet. Are there language comprehension skills? Now, this part I'm a little bit fuzzy on. As far as vocabulary development, again, it doesn't claim to have that. This is really about some beginning early literacy. There are some multisensory techniques to it. There is assessment and progress monitoring tools that come with it. Remember, the progress monitoring is about a mastery assessment. And as I suggested earlier, I would look to something like a cadence, the nonsense word fluency for the blending component, or even the phoneme segmentation to see if your students are progressing with the phonological awareness. And research-based practices. Yeah, the practices are definitely research-based. There's opportunities for differentiation. There is some integration of writing skills through dictation and things like that. So I think it checks many of the boxes. And I would absolutely love to hear from those of you that used it. What have you found with this program? Are you happy about the progression? Is it giving you the results you need? Are you using it in tier 1, tier 2, or even tier 3? I think the SIPPS, as far as a nonprofit organization, the collaborative classroom, I think they have a lot of other great things to consider also when you're looking for programs. If you've ever listened to me, you know I'm always hesitant of kits and programs, but I really feel like this is just one resource in particular to support our students, our early readers, with that phonological piece, the phonemic awareness, phonological sight words. So it's definitely something to consider using. And I hope you'll check it out and leave your comments below. Be sure to visit my website, emilymuccianti.com. You are welcome to join my newsletter list or reach out for a discovery call if you want to chat with me personally about something going on, and hopefully get on my list so next time I'm open for coaching clients, I would love to have you consider working with me. All right, I hope this was helpful. Let me know what you think, and thank you for what you do. Bye for now.